for a measly $200, and yet another trip around the board, the odds of your opponent landing on your hardly built up properties and decide to throw in the towel, this is just being a sore loser, a quitter. Or is this wisdom? Why not concede? Why suffer any further indignities? What is the gain in playing until completely bankrupt? Why waste any more time? Why not play something else? The IB's commerce game is a game only they can win. The International Banksters commerce game is a game only they can win. The banksters cannot lose. They have forced everyone to play, and they have forced everyone into a debt from which we cannot escape. It's like going to Las Vegas, where you want to win a game or you want to get entertained. It's like trading on certain stock market platforms that have been manipulated and perhaps mutated, and with algorithms and everything. How are you going to win on that stock market platform? The banksters cannot lose. They have forced everyone to play, and they have forced everyone into a debt from which we cannot escape. USCA, as a bankrupt corporation, is owned completely by its creditors, the bankers. They own all levels of media, government, education, religion, everything. If you have a birth certificate, they own you too. They control every transaction. They control what is going on in the world. They even control the puppets whom the world blames for the terror and the threats of war. The only way to win the commerce game is not to play. We were never meant to operate in commerce. They tricked us into it, and for their benefit. Isn't there something we'd rather be doing? What do banks do with this credit which we created with our signing of promises to pay? They lend it. Banks are not permitted to lend their money or their assets. They're allowed to lend only credit. Credit which we created. So it is only liability which is being spread around. They had a liability of interest attached to it each time it is used to pay someone. Banks now charge a service fee for any and all transactions, and most recipients still declare the liability as and pay tax on the income. The value of the note is thus diminished each time, and we have inflation. When I ostensibly pay you $50 for a service you provided me, since I am paying you with funds which were borrowed into existence and now have interests attached to it, how can it ever get paid? From whence comes the interest to pay when the interest has yet to be borrowed into existence? If I borrow your car, how can I bring back more of your car than I borrowed? It doesn't exist. Every transaction gets us further into a debt which does not exist, except in the minds of the banksters. The only way for us to win is not to play. Earning and or using the bankster's notes is tantamount to the alcoholic's drinking to obliterate his stark realization of his horrible circumstances created by his drinking. Talk about a downward spiral. There is no recovery unless one simply stops drinking. That is, get out of the commerce game. We cannot win by accumulating more of what is impoverishing us, but how can one opt out? What is vastly more important than these alleged debts from which we can never escape are the emotional and spiritual repercussions of the circumstances created by these vicious cycles, which are intentional by the way. What better way to control people than to impoverish them? Only one way: keep them in fear over poverty. Herein lies a seeming dilemma. How can we exempt ourselves from a game which everyone is playing? To think that we will be further ahead if we just had more money is pure folly. Many take on a second and third jobs in order to make more money. They are just taking another drink. They are snow plowing the problem, which removes them only further from recovery. We may have to bear the pain of withdrawal, but think of the freedom if we can survive it. There is only 263 billion US dollars in circulation. Considering Bill Gates alone is worth over 46 billion or so, much of it is offshore. Much of it is unaccountable because of his entanglement with the drug trade. And still millions are out there under mattresses, etc. Leaves only a maximum of about $700 per living soul. That is $1,400 if you want to count only adults. So there is not enough money for everyone. What there is credits, and that amount is unlimited. It goes into its trillions. Credits goes into its trillions of dollars, trillions of pounds sterling, trillions of euros, trillions of Japanese yen, trillions of South African rands, Nigerian naira, and Ghanaian cedis. Trillions. So we must begin to work for each other. I must do for you what I know best to do, what I love to do. Corporations, by definitions, do not exist. They are legal fictions. The purpose for their alleged existence is for their limited liability and that of the living souls who operate them. The Lord does not go after an entity who owns nothing. Corporations have nothing to give. You can't get blood from a stone. Now you see why the wealthiest in the world own nothing yet control everything. We ought to take a lesson. We ought to stop wanting to own things since we can't anyway because we don't have legal title to the things we think we own. We have only equitable title. We are allowed to use that which the state allows us to use. This includes our bodies. We cannot own anything for which we haven't paid or for which we have relinquished title, for instance, our bodies via the birth registration, except and with the exception of some who have been born abroad. Since we have nothing with which to pay, we own nothing unless we use asset funds to pay for legal title. Unfortunately, unless we have handled our commercial affairs properly, If we've handled our commercial affairs properly, we also cannot control anything. We must take back our lives and do what